So yesterday, we talked about how to do percent composition. And that is the percent by mass. Based on the mass of our compound, what percentage does each element make up? Now, this is an experimentally determined thing. What I want to talk about today is how to avoid some of the common mistakes students make. So issues I often see students making when they're calculating a percent composition. So let's look at this first example real quick. And I know you did this example with me in the video notes yesterday. We're going to go through it again, and I want to point out how students would make mistakes with this one. And then we'll do a couple on the back where you might make a mistake on those ones as well. So we have aluminum sulfite as our compound. Aluminum has a 3+ charge, sulfite a 2- charge. This is Al2SO3, 3. Okay? So the most common mistake here happens in terms of counting the atoms. We have 2 aluminum. Sulfur's inside the parentheses, so this 3 that's outside applies to the sulfur. So that's actually 3 sulfur atoms. And then the 3 also applies to this oxygen, so we would do 3 times 3, and that gives us a total of 9 oxygens. So the first thing we want to do with any percent composition problem is to find the molar mass of the compound as a whole. Okay, so I'm going to do 2 times 26.983 because that's aluminum, and then 3 times 32.066 for sulfur, and then 9 times 15.999 for oxygen. So my molar mass here for the whole compound is 294.155 grams per mole. Okay, this is asking us for the percent composition of sulfur within this compound. Now, here's what a student might do. Okay, well, sulfur's mass is 32.066. Divide that by the total mass, 294.155 times 100 gives me my percent composition. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. And the reason that it's wrong is because we didn't just have 1 sulfur. This is the mass of 1 sulfur. We don't have 1 sulfur, we have 3 sulfurs. So whatever this number is, we're going to multiply the top of our fraction by that number, how many we had. So instead of 32.066 divided by our molar mass, we're going to do 3 times 32.066 divided by our molar mass. So when you do that, 3 times 32.066 divided by 294.155 times 100, that's going to get us a percent composition of 32.70%. So in my aluminum sulfite, 32.70% of it is sulfur. So when I'm looking at the mass of the compound, 32.7% of the mass is coming from sulfur atoms. Okay? Let's look at the tin 4 phosphate as well. So tin, they've told us, has a charge of 4+ in this case. Tin can be 2+ or 4+. That's why we have the Roman numeral. Then we have the phosphate ion, which is 3-, so that's SN3PO4, 4. So if we count our atoms, that's 3 tin, 4 phosphorus, and then 4 times 4, so 16 oxygens. So first and foremost, of course, we're going to do our molar mass. So we have 3 times the mass of tin, which is 118.71, plus 4 times the mass of phosphorus, 30.974, plus 16 times 15.999. That gives us a molar mass of 736.01 grams per mole. This time they're asking for the percent composition of each element in this. So we're going to do the same calculation that we did up here, but we're going to do it 3 times, once for each of those 3 elements in the compound. And remember, we want to multiply the number by its mass. So we have 3 times the mass of tin. The mass of tin was 118.71. And then we divide that by that 736.01. Okay, and that gets us our percent of tin. Then we would do 4 times the mass of phosphorus, which was 30.974. Divide that by our total molar mass times 100. That's going to get us the percent of phosphorus. We had 16 oxygen atoms, so we need to do 16 times the mass of oxygen, which is 15.999. Divide that by our molar mass. And that's going to get our percent of oxygen. All right, so most common mistake I see students make with percent comp is forgetting to multiply the top by the number of atoms of that element that you have. So make sure that as you're doing these, you are multiplying by that value. Okay? The second most common mistake that I see is forgetting the times 100 part. All right? After you multiply and divide your fraction, you also need to multiply it by 100 to get your percentage. Okay? So those are the two things that I would watch out for today as you're practicing.